Good evening, friends. Today we shall start with the first chapter, and let us begin with our usual prayers. भवति यदनुभावात् एडमुकोऽपि वाग्मी जडमतिरपि जन्तुः जायते प्राज्ञमौलिः सकलवचनचेतो देवता भारती सा मम वचसि निदत्तां सन्निधिं मानसे देवं नारायणं नत्वा सर्वदोषविवर्जितं परिपूर्णं गुरुंश्चान् गीतार्थं वक्ष्यामि लेशतः. So in our earlier sessions we had seen about 12th chapter and 15th chapter and 16th chapter. Now let us start in a serial order because they were very prime chapters of the heart of the Bhagavad Gita. Hence we had taken Bhakti Yoga, then Purushottama Yoga and Daivasura Sampat Vibhaga Yoga. Today we shall start in a serial order as and when the time permits and as and when we can again meet with a divine inspiration. So the chapter number 1 is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. That is, it's Arjuna's grief or Arjuna's sorrow. This is one of the important chapters of Bhagavad Gita because this is the foundation of Bhagavad Gita. This is the basis of Bhagavad Gita, or the very foundation of Bhagavad Gita is chapter number 1. Many a times it so happens that many speakers try to avoid chapter number 1 itself and straight away they go to chapter number 2 because the actual philosophy starts from chapter number 2. Chapter number 1 is more or less an introduction of various characters, but the importance of chapter number 1 is very high because it's a platform, it is a foundation upon which the entire superstructure of Bhagavad Gita stands. Why this is important? Because had there not been a grievance for the Arjuna, probably we would not have got Bhagavad Gita on this earth itself. Because Bhagavad Gita is required by all the human beings of the earth for their upliftment. So somebody should be there who is receptive to this message of Lord Sri Krishna. Hence Arjuna became grieved, and then Lord revealed this secret or this gospel of Bhagavad Gita. Bharatam Sarvashastreshu Bharate Geetikavara. That means in the entire Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita occupies a very prime place. In that there are two important aspects of Mahabharata. That is, one is Bhagavad Gita and other is Vishnu Sahasranama. Nyayancha Pathyamcha Tadvayam. The meaning of this is that we should know Bhagavad Gita and we should chant Vishnu Sahasranama. So that is about this Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Then we will see why there was a grief of Arjuna, or why Arjuna underwent such a grief situation. And in between we shall see the salient features, what makes Arjuna as Arjuna. Then only we can discuss this Bhagavad Gita in its entirety. Because the basic controversy about the Arjuna's logic, wherein he puts forth his logic, the so-called rosy logic, the so-called which appears very beautiful from outside or externally, but inside there is a fault line that is running in his logic. So how Krishna cuts down that logic of Arjuna and inspires him to take up the war. So that is one of the important aspects of this Bhagavad Gita. So as usual, before beginning with our first chapter, first verse, let us see what is the importance of this chapter, or how this chapter is glorious. It is said in Padma Purana that there was one ox which was with a farmer, and unfortunately the farmer was torturing that ox, or extracting the excess of the work. That is, he was exploiting that ox beyond its capacity. He used to tie to bullock cart and put heavy loads on that one, and that is how he was means exploiting that ox. So one day, what happens is, after the ox served its owner, that is farmer, for more than a decade, 10 to 15 years, and became old enough. But this person did not realize it, and he overloaded it in a scorching summer, and then he was driving that bullock cart. So on the way, the ox got so much tired and exhausted, uh, and this person was bashing that ox and causing a lot of pain to it. So at a certain point of time, the ox collapsed. It broke down, and the entire load fell upon it, and it broke its legs, and so much of unfortunate event happened. And it started frothing, and there was no chance of survival for that ox. Farmer also realized that one, and then it started convulsing, or it underwent so much of grief and pain that almost it was about to die. This was very much sure. There was no water available because it was a very hot summer, and there was nobody to take care. Farmer had no water to put it, and meanwhile, some of the bypassers who were passing, they also saw that scene and took pity on this one. So everybody, whoever was passing in those days, because that itself was a big event. Now aeroplane also falls, means people are not bothered much. But in those days, maybe 7,000, 10,000 years back, in a small town, that itself was a big event. So many people who stopped there, and then they prayed that, oh, it would be better, God, let this ox die a peaceful death rather than suffering like this or undergoing so much of grief and torture. But nothing would happen, and it was again grieving. Again, some other person came, and third person came, fourth person came. A small crowd gathered there, and they all started praying that, oh God, grant a death to this ox, because there is no scope. Entire load has fallen upon it, and it has broken its legs, and already it is aged, so it should die a peaceful death. So none of the prayers were answered. Still, the ox was undergoing so much of grief. In the meanwhile, in some other cart, or in those days, what we call a tonga or a cart, one infamous woman was traveling on the same path. She was notorious and infamous in those times. So while passing through that talks, she also saw the situation, and even though she had adopted not a virtuous path, still she took pity on this one ox, and prayed God that this ox should leave its body, and should not undergo grief. The moment she said this much, the ox died. And then the ox went to heavens, its abode, and there they started thinking that how this ox that was undergoing so much grief, all the so-called gentlemen of the town were praying for its death, nothing happened. However, this lady came and prayed and chanted something, and she chanted some tune, and the ox died. It was really a surprising event for everybody. And when the ox went into the heavens, then there the account, the P&L account, what we call profit and loss account, was analyzed for her, for that ox, and they found out that this ox had heard a tune of Bhagavad Gita, this first verse. Then they said, all your sins are now, you are rid of all the sins, so now you can take a birth as a human being. And we also give a extra blessing that you will remember what torture you had undergone in this life of an animal. So really, we will bless you because you have heard tune of the Bhagavad Gita, sloka 1 or first verse, and you have gathered or accumulated so many virtues because of that one verse. Then this person was reborn once again. He was born in the same village, in a very good reputed family of that village, and grew up. And he always remembered that what he was in his previous birth, that he was a ox, and that is how he had undergone so much torture, and then remembered that this woman had chanted something, because it was in the animal body, because it was animal, it could not understand. Even in 15th chapter we had come across one horse story. Same thing happened here also. It said, I'm just was an ox, could not understand much, but some tune was sung in my ears, and then I left for the abode to directly to heavens. And then he started searching for that address of that woman, and meanwhile traced that woman because of his knowledge that was given by the blessed by the gods, that he will remember everything of his last previous birth. Then he went to her and said that this narration, that I was ox and you came, and I was under so much of grief. When you chanted something, then instantly I died and went to heavens and obtained a human form. Please, can you tell what was that verse that you had sung or prayed there? Then the lady said, I'm an infamous lady, notorious lady. I don't have much knowledge of any religion, but I had one parrot in my house, I had in my cage, that was chanting some sort of tunes, and I used to feel happy with that tune itself. I do not even know, because they were the words parroted by a parrot. So I could not make out much, but somehow it was very pleasant for my ears. So whenever I used to listen, whatever the parrot used to parrot, I used to listen that one. Then he asked, from where did you get that parrot? She said, one of the traders who had brought that parrot, he sold me for a huge money, because he said, this is a very special parrot. I have brought it from some saints, and it chants some, so sings something, chants something. That is why I had brought it. So she was impressed by it and had put in a cage in her house and used to listen to those chants. Then again the big question came, that she also was not knowing, and she was telling about a parrot and some saints. Then he started tracing those saints, and traced the saints in a nearby village, and asked that so and so incident has happened. I was in the form of a bullock, and then I died because of the so and so torture. And some parrot, some lady said few verses. Then I attained this human form, and she says, no, some parrot has parroted some verse, some sung some tunes. Same tune she sung in my ears when I was a bullock. So that is how the things had taken turn. Then the saint said, yes, we had one parrot, because one day one parrot came to this ashram, and it was in a sick form. So we protected it and gave some this one treatment, whatever it was, and we had kept in our ashram in a cage, in a hermitage. We had kept it, and as usual, we are saints. Every day we were performing our yagnas and chanting the Bhagavad Gita slokas. We were chanting, and that parrot was also a really a cute and intelligent one, that also used to sing the same tunes that we were singing. Then one day the parrot was stolen from our hermitage. Somebody took it off. So then the entire link got connected, that somebody stole that parrot from a saint's, this one, and had sold it to this lady, and it was singing some, chanting some tunes. Then he asked, what you were chanting in Bhagavad Gita? Then they said that we were chanting Bhagavad Gita first verse, and all the verses we were chanting, and the parrot had picked up the tune of the first chapter verses, and then it was doing the same thing. It was parroting, or it was repeating our own words. Some used to understand, some were not understanding, because it was a bird. Then he heard what was that one. So that is nothing but first chapter of this Bhagavad Gita. It was chanting, so which starts with the Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyotsavaha Mamakah Pandavascheva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. This was the verse that parrot was repeating, and because of only these words, it was a bird transferred to a lady who was an infamous lady, and then it was, this tune was sung, in fact, to that ears of that ox, and that is how it attained. So that means even a bird which chants this one in some crude language, or a non-refined language like us, and which was captured by some notorious woman who was not even virtuous. And when this much can happen to a ox which attains a human form and goes directly to the heaven, and then comes back to the earth with so much of divine blessing of remembrance of the last previous birth. So this much can be attained by this first chapter. So this story is from Padma Purana, that is from Purana only. So this is the glory of the Bhagavad Gita. Every word, every verse, every sloka, or everything is so much pious about this one, because this gospel has come out of the holy lips of Lord Sri Krishna. So after this glory of chapter 1, so we'll be very much fortunate even if we are able to sing half a verse or 1/4 of a verse or some portion of a verse. So really it will be we can imagine when birds and ox can attain this much, why can't we human beings attain the greater heights of salvations or the so-called heavens? Why can't we attain? But definitely we all will attain it. Hence we have become interested in Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, every person may not be interested. Even if you invite, they may not join or they may not read. It may not be from me or somebody. Whatever source they have, if they can follow that one and make their lives a fruitful one. So now let us begin with Arjuna's Vishad, Arjuna's grievance, which starts with Dhritarashtra Vacha. So it's a very interesting chapter. This involves mainly introduction of so many characters. Now, rather than going into the details of each character, we will pass on to the only message, so that our interest is in gospel or in the philosophy of theology of Bhagavad Gita, rather than the only characters. So anyway, we will see as and when whatever the little introduction that we can get from these verses. So first is first itself starts with, because otherwise it will take a lot of time. Our cap and rider is only the time. It cuts off after 30-35 minutes. Again we assemble, again we cut off. So if we go into the details of who was Karna, who was Arjuna, who was Bhima, who was Yudhishthira, what were their, if you go into these detailed characters, again that itself is a separate aspect, and it will take more time, which we cannot justify in the online this one. So that we should complete at the same time understand and digest also. So that is the intention. So first is Dhritarashtra Vacha. You all know who was this Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is father of this Duryodhana. Dhruta Rashtra. Rashtra means kingdom or a country or whatever we call. Dhruta means the one who holds a country. The one who holds his country is a Dhritarashtra. It's a coincidence that he had this name Dhritarashtra. Vacha means who has told this or who spelled out this one. So entire Bhagavad Gita begins with the first questionnaire of Dhritarashtra, who had put his children in the warfare, or inspired or encouraged them to go for the warfare between his children and his brother's children, that is Pandu Raja's children. So this becomes this one. So how this name was given to this Dhritarashtra, who was blind. We all know that he was a blind king. How this name was given? These are all the names of Supreme Lord itself. Dhritarashtra, one who holds the kingdom. That Dhritarashtra, few days back he was not a king, and after few days he left this kingdom. That means it is temporary. So there should be somebody who holds this entire kingdom from eternity to eternity, or the entire earth itself who holds it. The one who holds, he is a Dhritarashtra. So now who can hold this earth from infinity to infinity is only Supreme God, to whom we call by various names, Narayana, Hari, Krishna, Rama, etc. That means Dhritarashtra is the actual name of somebody, as we call our children by so many names, isn't it? We call our children by name of Rama or Krishna or Govinda, some sort of Shankara, some names we keep. So they are all names of the God. In their honor, we have kept to our children those names, so that we can remember them. Like that, Dhritarashtra is also a name of a supreme God, which the parents of Dhritarashtra, Vichitravirya, had kept this name to this. Vichitravirya is also a name of a god only. The two brothers were there, Chitravirya and Vichitravirya. That's the introduction of again Mahabharata. Let us not deviate there. Vichitravirya, I will tell you only one meaning of that. Vichitravirya. Vichitra means strange. Virya means the caliber or the valiance or their power. Vichitra Virya means a very strange or a vivid type of power who has, he is a Vichitra Virya. Now, one who has vivid type of powers is only again Supreme God, because he is the one who creates plants, he is the one who creates birds, he is the one who creates aquatic life, he is the one who creates life above the water, below the water, in the sky, and so in so many places he creates. Some birds are blue in color, some are yellow in color, some are red in color, some have red beaks, some have white beaks, so many things. Long beaks, short beaks, big feathers. Something like a peacock, something like a lion, some is ferocious, something is non-docile. So much of strange world is created by this God. So that is why he is Vichitra Virya. Same thing, Chitra Virya. Chitra is also vivid also. So anyway, that is the previous one. Let us not go back, because otherwise we'll go back up to Bhishma and Shantanu Maharaj. So we are interested in more of this Bhagavad Gita philosophy. So now this Vichitra Virya son Dhritarashtra was blind, as we all are quite aware about this one. So he asked a first question, that is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetra. To whom he has asked? He asked to his aide, that is Sanjaya. That is, Sanjaya was his aide, because Sanjaya's father was also aide of a aide in the sense servant or a charioteer of his father. Vichitra Virya's aide, a charioteer was this Sanjaya's father. That is, his name was Gavalga. Now his son is Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra, he is again hierarchical. His father was also a servant of Dhritarashtra's father. So this person also became a natural servant or a charioteer of, he was skilled charioteer. So he became a charioteer for Dhritarashtra. So that is so that is how this one Dhritarashtra name came, and how Sanjay was associated with Dhritarashtra. And when sage Vedavyasa asked for a boon or wanted to give a clairvoyant, this one vision to this one Dhritarashtra, he said, I don't want, basically I am born blind. You give this one telepathic knowledge to power to this Sanjaya, so that he will give a commentary of what is happening in the battlefield, and I'm happy with that one. So that is how this Sanjaya got a clear vision or clairvoyance, and then he was able to reveal what was happening on the battlefield. Then that is how this Dhritarashtra asks this question to Sanjaya. What he asked? Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yotsavaha Mamakah Pandavascheva Kimakuruvata Sanjaya. O Sanjaya, in a Dharma Kshetra or Kurukshetra, Samaveta Yuyotsava, those who wanted to indulge in the war, they have gathered together on that Kurukshetra battlefield. And what they are doing, can you tell me? This was the question of the Dhritarashtra. Dharma Kshetra, it is called as Dharma Kshetra. Kurukshetra is the name of a place, Kurukshetra. In Haryana it is there, Kurukshetra. This war happened there only, and it was fought there only. So it was called as a Kurukshetra because King Kuru ruled that place. King Kuru is ancestral of this Kauravas. Beyond this Bhishma, even ancestral of Bhishma, Shantanu, there was one Kuru king was there. So Kuru, after ruling this entire earth for a very long time, he was a very pious and valiant king. He ruled this kingdom, and he and his wife Tapati, both they did penance after, as we know, after 60 years they go to woods and give all the kingdom to their children. So as he was pious and he was bound by so many this one religious duties, after completing his tenure, he gave the kingdom and then went to Kurukshetra. And then both husband and wife, they did a lot of penance there. Then God appeared in front of them. Then they asked, what type of boon you want? You are doing so much of penance. Then he said, with my penance and with my this one, I know that one day there will be a war fought between my children only. So I want my children, those who are fighting, which is inevitable. Whoever fights here in this soil or in this place of Kurukshetra, they should attain heavens, because both are my children only. Pandu's sons are also my children only, my lineage only. Dhritarashtra's children also my lineage only. So I don't want them to fall in hell. They should go to heaven. God was pleased by this one, and then he said, okay, your boon has been granted. And that is how that Kurukshetra become. Then why it is called as Dharmakshetra? One is why we know why this name Kurukshetra, because of Kuru king, and Kshetra means place, a place where Kuru king ruled, and Dharmakshetra it becomes. Why it is Dharmakshetra? Because whatever the war that was fought for the dharma to establish the righteousness, so they should. Sometimes it so happens that my children who are not virtuous, they are also fighting in this war in future. So hence both should attain the heavens. So that is how it is called as Dharmakshetra. Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre. Now, what else is the meaning of this Dharmakshetra? In how it is relevant to us here, that Kurukshetra, and there is the, because simply we can extend this logic to our mind also. Our head itself is a Dharmakshetra or a Kurukshetra. In our head itself, at in brain, at any given time, two thought processes will be arising always between good and the bad. My part of the mind says, let us help, let us do this one. Other part of the mind says, not to help, not to do this one, or he doesn't deserve. So many negative thoughts also will come. So that is how in this our skull itself, we should overcome that negative and get associated with that positive. So that is how this Dharmakshetra is our head only, Kurukshetra is also our head only. So in this war between the good thoughts and bad thoughts, good thoughts should win over the bad thoughts. Why good thoughts should win over this one, and how we can win them? Because if we surrender to Supreme Lord, then automatically we can win over these bad thoughts. So that is the message actually for each and every human being, because every human being, even the villains also have some sort of thinking, or they have their own thought process or something like that. They have even wild people, wicked people, in them also the same churning will be going on, but for them the crookedness wins over their good activities. For common men like us, or for other virtuous people like all of us, good thoughts prevail. They prevail. We suppress the bad thoughts. Whereas villainous persons, they suppress the good thoughts, and they become bad people, or they become villainous in their life. So that is how we can extend this logic. And what is Dhritarashtra? Why he is called as Dhritarashtra? That is why it is called as Dharmakshetra. Why it is called as Kurukshetra? So Samaveta Yutsava, that is who have gathered to war. That is good thoughts and bad thoughts have gathered in our mind to take on each other. They keep on fighting, and good thoughts have to win. Yutsava means who wants to do the war. Yodhum Ichati Yutsava, that is who wants to do this war. So that is Samaveta Yutsava. Mama, see now, see the beauty of this verse. You see, now I have 10 minutes again. We will reconnect so that again we can go to the next this one. So time cap, biggest hurdle for us. Anyway, what he continues, second half of this verse. He says, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kima Kurvata Sanjaya. Oh Sanjaya, Kim Kurvata means what they are doing, or what they are doing right now. Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. See these both the words, how these both the words are so much important. Mamaka means my children. Pandavaschaiva means Pandu's children. Now you think, who are the Pandava's children? Suppose if my surname is Mahurkar, my brother's surname is also Mahurkar. My brother's children's surname is also Mahurkar only. Isn't it? Or whatever your names, whatever your surnames are there. Your surname is also same. Your brother's children, their surname is also same. Isn't it? That means we belong to the same family tree. So here this Dhritarashtra, he says that Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. That means my children and Pandu children. In fact, he should have addressed what my children are doing at that moment, because both are his children only. The children of King Pandu is his own brother. So both belong to the same lineage. Both are Kauravas only. Pandavas are also Kauravas. Kauravas are also Kauravas, because they are descendants of the same Kuru Maharaj, King Kuru. They are descendants of the same king. So that means automatically they are also Kauravas. Pandavas are also Kauravas only. But this itself shows how the wicked nature, how the wild nature of Dhritarashtra was prevailing at that moment of time. He asked Sanjaya what they are doing. My children and my this one Pandu. He would have called my brother's children at least, but he says Pandu's children. That means some third person. Pandu Raja was some third person, and his children are his own children. So this shows How that is why probably so everything follows this karma therapy. Why we say everything follows karma therapy? Because it's very much clear that a person who has this blind thought or blind thought process or thinks bluntly, so God also made him blind itself by birth. That is, he could not see or he could not have a clear vision about his children and his brother's children being the king of that Hastinapur. He was a king, isn't it? So when he was a king, he should have thought that they are also my children, including the citizens are also his own children. He should be so much bright-minded, but he thinks that now my children and Panduraja's children. So that itself indicates that his vision was impaired. His vision was not clear. That means he was blind. He was blind to give a punishment. Probably God also made him a blind person itself by birth itself. So that is his vision. It was aberration of his vision, how he was visualizing his children, somebody's children and the kings, because entire citizens are the children of the king only. It is his duty. He is duty bound to do this. Why government of India or Narendra Modi ji is doing so much for corona medicines and free food and free medicines and hospitals? Because he is a king. One who is a king, he is duty bound. We are all the children of that king or this country. So king becomes automatically duty bound to protect his children only. So that is how they give free food, they give free money, they waive off the farmers loans, they waive off so many things, because they are bound to protect us. We are bound by them. So that is how a king should be. So similarly, Dhritarashtra also should have thought that Pandu's children are also my children also my children. But this vision he had that lacked that clarity, and probably to give a suitable befitting punishment, God made him blind by birth itself. Anyway, so that is what we are in this first verse, that is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yotsavaha Mamaka Pandava Cheva Kim Kurvata. What they were doing, what they are doing right now. Oh Sanjay. Sanjay was his aide, and that is how this starts. Now I think the time message is coming, but I think first verse is over. So now we will disconnect and reconnect for second verse. Otherwise, second verse again we cannot complete that second verse. We will go at this pace only, so that very comfortably, enjoyably, playfully we will learn this Bhagavad Gita and the message of Bhagavad Gita. So, and so that you also become brand ambassadors of this Bhagavad Gita and implement this with you and with your near and dear and children, and where you come in contact with other people, so that we can continue. So now I would like to disconnect and reconnect, because next again we'll get another 40 minutes.